know what Sony had? The Holy Trinity. Leo, Brad, and Margot. Who do you have?
Hello and welcome to Boy Party, the podcast that tackles cinema's most legendary team-ups, films where two or more major stars share the screen. My name is Lucy Mondaly, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in performance art. Every week we put on a show in public that resembles something a little like a gory public surgery. It's Shane Kelly.
Good afternoon.
What about podcast is the new sex, Shane?
I said that already.
We're joined for the fourth time on the show. You've heard him on our Philadelphia episode, our Burlesque episode, our Room Next Door episode, live from Spain. It's Brendan Fernando Kelly Palenque. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. I'm so excited to talk about such an exciting film that definitely didn't put me to sleep.
Okay. Do you, is this the straightest movie you've been on to talk about? I think so.
I mean, I guess the Marvel ranking is...
The Marvel ranking is a bonus thing.
Come on.
Yeah. But if you're talking about individual films, you're talking, Tom Hanks gay movie, Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton, Christina Aguilera, Cher, and now Viggo Mortensen. I think Kristen Stewart counts, though. That makes this...
As does Léa Seydoux.
As does Léa Seydoux. So welcome to the show. I know you did a big Cronenberg binge the last while. As people may know from your previous appearances on the show, you're a big fan of doing these kind of viewing projects, which I have huge admiration for. Can't really say I'm quite as committed as you, where you'll just seek out to watch all a director's films in chronological order, and you kind of just don't watch anything else while you're in the middle of doing it. So you did that for Cronenberg a little while ago, and how did that work out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just did it on a bit of a whim, to be honest. I can't say I was particularly even interested in Cronenberg before doing it, and I do think I really enjoyed it because he has such a large filmography, and he has a lot of really interesting films. Even the ones I didn't particularly like, a lot of the times are interesting, which is why I actually think this one is so disappointing, because the first time I watched it, I was like so excited to be done with my binge, and it was the last film that he had released up to that point that I was like, okay, let's just get this done. And now... I watched it and I felt really sleepy and tired, and I fell asleep and I didn't remember anything that happened in the film. So then when I went to rewatch it for this, I was really excited because I was like, I don't think I gave this a fair shake. And then I think within 20 minutes, it was like, oh, maybe I fell asleep because this film is not that interesting.
I guess so. I mean, we did watch it. We watched it together in Madrid when I was visiting you 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think it was a sleepy afternoon regardless, because we've been walking around all morning in the heat. But I agree with you, it's sleepy. I wouldn't say that it being sleepy negates it being interesting, though. I do think it's interesting, especially as an example of old man sci-fi and kind of late stage auteurism of like a type where you've got these guys like Cronenberg now who are in their 70s, some are in their 80s, trying to reckon with the evolving technologies in the world. And for someone like him who's clearly... been interested in technology and how technology affects the human body and people's relationships his whole career, I think watching things descend into kind of AI madness is clearly causing him to have like a certain type of response that's leading to films like this and his most recent film, which is The Shrouds, which we watched, myself and Shane watched last night. Shane, I think you've only seen these two Cronenberg films now.
Watching this was the first time I've ever seen a Cronenberg film.
So your perception, I've seen maybe 7 or 8, but your perception of him now is almost entirely rooted in these two late stage 2020s kind of like, look at all this mad technology movies.
And like, I think I had a very opposite response to Brendan in that it was not at the end of a binge, and like...
It was the start of something new.
I was super interested in what was going on here.
Yes.
Like semi-thematically, but also just kind of the style of it and the kind of lack of interest in, I guess,
spectacle.
Maybe not spectacle, but like refinement in the screenplay to make it snappy and kind of interesting.
Yeah,
it's like that seems to be almost negated in the Shrouds as well, where it's the point is in the spectacle, and then the dialogue is kind of exposition in a pretty straightforward way.
Both of these films, I think, tell you their themes and their ideas over and over again, really straightforwardly. Like, there's nothing you have to do any work to figure out in terms of the ideas. The characters on screen may as well be turning to the camera and going, so the film you're watching right now is David Cronenberg's commentary on technology.
There's several instances of they'll be looking at a photo of someone's dead wife, and one character will go, what was she like? And the other one will go, who? My wife? And like, that's kind of a pretty consistent form of the way the dialogue takes place.
I was reading some Letterboxd reviews last night of The Shrouds, and people were saying it's sort of a successful version of the Tommy Wiseau thing.
Yeah.
In The Room, which is this like very, I don't know, is it theatrical, like hyper literate depiction of themes where everything's being spelled out. A lot of people would watch this, I think, and would say it's bad writing, it's bad filmmaking, it's too on the nose.
It might be.
It might be, to me, knowing, like, if I watch this film and it was directed by Johnny Director,
yeah,
I'd probably be, suspicious of whether it's amounting to anything. The knowledge that it's being directed by a beloved filmmaker who's made some really compelling stuff over like a 50-year career does give it a lot more substance of like, surely he's trying to say something.
Like Brendan, you'll probably attest to this more given you've seen everything. But like, is this just a matter of refinement over the years that he's whittled it down to not needing to be hyper interesting, I suppose, with the dialogue, and he could just kind of stick to the kind of basic form of the ideas, and everything else around it is what's interesting to him.
Is it his version of writing like a newspaper column almost at this point?
I suppose. I mean, you'd almost get the impression like Cronenberg is Canadian, but especially, I don't know, Crimes of the Future and The Shrouds almost feel like they were written by someone whose second language is English.
Yes.
Like, you'd think he was French Canadian because everything is just a little bit stilted, a little bit off.
It does remind me of The Room Next Door a little bit now that you say it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it has a very European filmmaker quality to it for someone who is North American and a native English speaker.
And I mean, particularly, obviously, it doesn't help by Crimes of the Future having all of these sets that just look, in my opinion, really cheap. Everything just looks really, really cheap and fake and not real. And also, I don't particularly care for the aesthetic of the film, which is all just like set in this dungeony, gray, rusty environment, post-apocalyptic kind of future. But I mean, getting back more to what you were saying, I guess, Shane, I think, there is kind of an element of this that's like trying not to have so much visual spectacle, because I think Cronenberg obviously was really known for that earlier and has had, I guess, his fair share of copycats since then. And I think, particularly with Crimes of the Future, I think, there is kind of some kind of message that he's trying to give there, where it's like, this spectacle shouldn't be used just for spectacle. Like, and that maybe that he's trying to say, I was never doing that. Like, I wasn't just putting gory things on the screen to be like, oh my God, isn't this so disgusting, that there was a purpose behind that. I don't know if I would necessarily always agree with that, but certainly, like, I think that's the point that he's trying to make when he has, like, the man with all the ears pop up, and Viggo Mortensen is basically like, oh, this guy's such a hack.
And obviously the marketing for the film really tries to sell it as like shocking body horror. The man with the ears is on the teaser poster, and the poster has the crazy chamber that Viggo wakes up in. But the movie itself doesn't really have a whole lot of that. I mean, I went into it expecting it to be a kind of a carnival of horrors that would like really freak me out. And other than a couple of like surgery scenes, it's mostly just people in rooms talking. And as you said, those scenes take place on sets that look incredibly artificial. The film has somewhat intentional, probably somewhat unintentional sort of artificiality and like low budget thing going on. I've gotten really into Adam Agoyan's films recently, who's a sort of, I guess, a bit younger than Cronenberg, but a contemporary of his in Canadian filmmaking. And I've watched a lot of these Canadian thrillers and films like this recently, and they have a very distinct aesthetic that it just is like 30% cheaper looking than an American film. And I really like it. In most cases, I find it to be like, it adds a lot of character, and it kind of leaves you wondering what's going to happen next. And it makes them feel a little bit like an art installation maybe versus a Hollywood film. You're right in this. It probably does. It stops it from being immersive as a piece of science fiction, because you're just not buying the environments as futuristic at all. It does look like these actors are hanging out in like a warehouse where they rented for like €500 a day. But I think he wants it to look kind of weird and cheap, and I think he deliberately turns the brightness down to like 10% on this film. I cannot think of a film we've ever covered on this podcast that would be harder to watch on a laptop screen in the middle of the day. The sun was shining.
Yeah, you're really forced to kind of reckon with the underlying ideas to make this interesting for yourself.
Yeah, sure, because it's not giving you a lot of pops of color or spectacle of a traditional sense. No. But this is his first science fiction thing in like 25 years. Because I'm looking here, and like all of his movies, I don't know what some of these Well, no, actually, I've actually seen all of his 21st century stuff apart from Spider. So his run post Existence.
Oh God, Spider.
Yeah, you don't like Spider. So I watched about half of Existence yesterday and didn't manage to finish it. It reminded me a lot of this. I didn't really like it. It was really, really explaining its ideas, over-explaining its ideas, and to be honest, was just really fucking confusing anyway with all the video game stuff. He follows that up then with Spider, which, what is Spider, like a detective serial killer thing? What is it?
I've kind of forgotten a little bit myself, but basically it's just like Ray Fiennes was like an abused child, and I think he's just having these flashbacks to his abusive mother basically, the whole time, and his nickname is Spider, and he's just like, oh, Spider, oh, so.
That's how all spiders talk in my imagination. But then he does a run of like maybe his most acclaimed films, kind of in the cultural consensus, which are History of Violence, Eastern Promises, which are these like which are both Viggo Mortensen vehicles, and I think are both excellent. History of Violence would have been the first Cronenberg I saw. I watched it 5 years ago, I'd say. And these are just like really well written, well acted character pieces with these kind of very simple but unusual dynamics at their core. History of Violence is obviously Viggo Mortensen kind of being found years later by these guys that have an issue with him, and it's sort of like what happens if you were on TV one time and people could come and find your workplace. And then Eastern Promises is like a very surprising film, which is kind of what's about human trafficking and like the mob in London, and Viggo Mortensen is kind of trying to help this young woman, and he's a like limo driver. These are, I think, both feature in your top 5 Cronenberg list that we're putting up on our Instagram this week. They're good. They're completely different to all of the body horror stuff. They're really interesting movies. Do you see a connection between the stuff he's doing in his horror and the stuff he's doing in these dramas?
Well, I mean, I definitely think I do, because even in these like more grounded films, there's still definitely a focus on the body, right? I mean, there's a lot of naked body shots, but not necessarily in like a sexy way, right? But just in a way that almost feels like, I don't know, like you're at a medical theater looking at some kind of anatomy class or something, right?
Yes.
And I think ultimately, while yes, he always does have these like body horror things, I think it's always kind of in connection and related to technology more so than it is really just related to the human body itself. And I think we can see that through line all the way through all of his films and stuff. So I don't know. I think I just Crimes of the Future, I just think it's a shame. I don't think any of the main actors really get that much of an opportunity to do anything. I mean, Viggo is just kind of going like, "Oh, I'm in so much pain."
I would argue that Kristen Stewart is definitely doing something, not for the best.
But I think she's doing something to make up for the lack of nothing she has to do.
Yes, maybe. She's seen the role on paper and she's like, oh, Jesus. Well, I want to work with Cronenberg, so I'll make something out of this.
Yeah, we saw the same type of performance out of Guy Pearce in The Shrouds.
We thought they were very similar performances. Where Guy Pearce in The Shrouds, he's been tasked at playing like a nerd. Like there's basically nothing there. He's like a jealous nerd, and he turns the sauce up to like 100 on that performance. Where he's crazy speech patterns, crazy enunciation. His eyes are bulging out of his face. And it reminded me a lot of what Kristen Stewart's doing in this, where I'm like, you are making such a meal out of this really one-dimensional role. And like, I respect them both a lot as actors. I think those performances are both objectively not that great. But I respect that they're trying to do something, and they obviously want to work with this guy they admire, and this is their way of managing that. But I want to talk the other run up until this film is A Dangerous Method, which is sort of like if David Cronenberg was going to do a kind of a stagey period piece with nice costumes and stuff. Of course, it's going to be about the history of psychoanalysis and sexual psychoanalysis and Freud and Jung. And I thought this was great fun. I really liked it. I think Keira Knightley, you made a comment in your Letterboxd review, and I texted you because you were like, she's doing a lot in this. And I texted you being like, I think this is the right kind of doing a lot. I think that this is like 100% working for me in a way that Kristen Stewart in Crimes does not work. I think Keira Knightley might actually be better in the role in Crimes of the Future, because I think she's got the perfect level of ham for this kind of Cronenberg woman role. But I think A Dangerous Method is a really fun projection of his energy and his interests onto like stuffy people 150 years ago sitting around debating, drinking tea.
I think it reminds me a little bit of your favorite TV show, Friends. There's an episode where Joey has to act in one of these terrible plays that he's in.
Oh, and he's like spitting, is it?
it's some kind of
Gary
Sigmund.
Oldman.
No. It's a Sigmund Freud play or something,
right.
and he's like, singing about penis envy basically or something like that.
Right.
And that's what I kind of feel like. The film is like, it's a bit over the top, it's a bit ridiculous, but it is fun. I agree. Like I think in retrospect, I probably would like it even more now if I went back to watch it again. And I think that is a case where, like, again, there's a film with three main actors: Keira Knightley, and Michael Fassbender, and Viggo Mortensen, and I think they all really do a great job of getting you to care about them all. But I think that's also because they just have meatier things to dig into there. Whereas
absolutely, they have a whole history of real people. Yeah,
especially Leah Seydoux. I just feel bad for her. Where I don't know, I just feel like she's kind of reduced to not getting to do much of anything in this, to be honest.
I know what you're saying. The last two before this then are Cosmopolis and Maps of the Stars, which are these two, like, I guess they're like psychological dramas about the nature of celebrity and fame and American cities. And they're probably, like, they're the two, they were coming out at a time where I was engaging with movie culture. And I didn't see them when they were coming out, but, like, my dad was really excited for both of them because he loved Cronenberg. He loved Robert Pattinson in this mode. And it's fun. I think that he crams a bunch of actors that he wants to work with. Like, Maps of the Stars is a great cast. You got John Cusack, Julianne Moore, Robert Pattinson. Like, these are really fun people to put in a movie. I love that he puts both Twilight actors in movies. He was very briefly expressing interest in wanting to direct Breaking Dawn. And I've never really gotten 100% verification that this was real, but I remember there being reports at the time that the two people that they were like, because they didn't have a director lined up for Breaking Dawn, the other three had been made really quickly, and then they kind of gave themselves a year to make Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2, and they were like, all right, who could we get to do this? That'd be fun. And I think the two people that they had maybe a cursory phone call with were, I think, Sofia Coppola and David Cronenberg. And David Cronenberg, I'm sure, was like, I'd love the idea of working with Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. They're really interesting. He probably took a look at the book synopsis and was like, well, this is a best-selling teen novel, 700-page book about a girl getting pregnant with a baby that's going to kill her from the inside. Like, that book is an insane... You can read it two ways, I guess. You could read it as insane pro-life propaganda, or you can read it as, like, Cronenbergian body horror about how things can kill your body, destroy your body from within. And I can absolutely see why he would have been interested in, like, taking a huge budget and making a movie for teenagers with themes that he's interested in. However, he would also have had to direct all the bullshit in those Breaking Dawn movies with the wolves and with the other vampires that have a big battle and all of the shit that is not good in the second Breaking Dawn as well. So I think it would have
the entire focus on that would have been the 20 to 20 seconds of turning into the wolf and just
I know.
Weird bodies turning inside out and kind of thing. And then,
but ultimately, and Bill Condon directs those movies, who's like an okay director. I think the pregnancy birth stuff in Breaking Dawn Part 1 is trying to do a Cronenberg thing for kids and is really shocking and gross and bloody, and I think is about as much as they could push the boat out on a 12 certificate. And I think it's the best part of those two movies is the, like, crazy birth stuff and the crazy freaky vampire baby. It's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily inspired exclusively by Cronenberg, but I can see why he was in the DNA there while they were making those movies.
Do you think we should even attempt to try and give a synopsis of what happens in this film?
I think you could give a good synopsis. I think
it's reasonably straightforward.
You go ahead, Shane.
Okay, so sex is gone.
There's no sex.
There's no sex.
No pain.
There's no pain either.
And no infection.
So
no disease.
Yeah. So the midpoint they have settled on to get a bit of enjoyment and have a bit of fun is to do surgery on each other.
Just cut each other open.
Cut each other open.
Just play around with what's inside.
Surgery is the new sex.
Yeah.
As they say. And that's kind of it, I guess.
Well,
and
so Viggo Mortensen is a person who is growing new artificial organs inside him spontaneously.
Yeah,
right?
since there's like no disease.
They're not artificial. That's the thing.
But
they're organic. They're completely organic,
but,
and they're spontaneous.
Okay. Yes,
I
believe the lack of disease and the lack of pain in the world means organs don't need to serve any sort of function anymore, and evolution is kind of breaking down, and you're getting these neo organs that serve no function. And Seydoux and Viggo are kind of harvesting them and logging them a little bit and just keeping an eye on them and doing these kind of live performance art pieces where they cut open Viggo and they take them out, and they've got some cool machines that from the past. Like, they don't need surgery machines anymore.
No.
Because nobody essentially needs surgery. So they use it as a performance art kind of sexual.
It's got the vibe of a strip club show. but in a very kind of like medical way, where she's like doing like kind of sexy movements with her hands in order to operate a robot arm.
Sorry,
that cuts him open.
there's a remote controller.
Yeah.
Which
she has on her
you
chest.
have to caress and poke certain points.
Very sexual kind of movements. Now,
in a way,
what
it's quite
the
similar
shit
to the last film we discussed, Burlesque, in that,
Sure.
clearly the Christina Aguilera character can be seen in someone like Kristen Stewart, who really wants to be the new star, or not necessarily the new star, but she really wants to get on that stage. She wants to be performed on.
Yeah.
While, of course, Leo Seydoux is being shared and saying, no.
Yeah. Just leave it to us.
Yeah. The rest of this plot is that a young boy is killed by his mother for eating plastic. Because
for eating a bin.
Eating plastic is like the next progression into like
you're not human anymore.
You're not human anymore.
They're worried
so
that
start consuming synthetics in a way that is beyond evolution. And they end up performing one of these, doing the show on the boy. Well, it's an autopsy because he's not alive.
Yeah.
Which
a lot of
the it's interesting. I think it kind of
breaks
breaks down the direct link between the new surgery type thing and the sexual thing, because you're introducing a dead body and you're introducing a child, and you're like, are people supposed to enjoy this anymore?
I know. It flips the vibe of the thing entirely.
Like, does conventional sexuality even exist in this anymore? Like, if are you gay if a man performs surgery on you? Like,
I don't know.
I don't think it's like purely a sexual thing as well. I think it's just an all-encompassing kind of form of entertainment. I would say less like a strip show. It's almost more like a cabaret, like a burlesque show. Really, it is like a form of entertainment. And I think with the child, I guess in particular, they were saying that this was obviously a bizarre child who was able to consume plastics without it harming him, and so they were going to do this biopsy, or what was it called?
Autopsy.
Autopsy, to see, what was going on with his insides. And I think someone had sabotaged it, so it wasn't what it was supposed to be, essentially. But I guess it would be that intrigue of seeing the next step in human evolution.
Yeah, and I guess there's like a plot about Scott Speedman as the boy's father, who ends up getting murdered with 2 drills to the head. There's a bunch of this like mystery stuff going on. There's the other actor who's what's his name? The guy, the black actor who's chatting to them a bunch. There's a bunch of this stuff where people are just going for meetings. Basically, Kristen Stewart and Don McKellar work in the new organ registry, which is like hidden in a secret office. And Lea Seydoux and Viggo Mortensen are like sneaking in there in the dead of night. And Scott Speedman starts to kind of follow them around. Shout out to Don McKellar, who's a great Canadian actor who I've seen in like a bunch of these Goyen and Cronenberg movies recently. And I'm a big fan of him. He's the guy with the beard who works with Kristen Stewart. I didn't find that mystery that was going on about the boy's father to be particularly compelling at all. I was just kind of waiting for the 3 leads to be back on screen. Because ultimately I think that like what's going on with the Viggo Seydoux relationship is way more interesting. The closest it gets to a traditional sex scene, I guess, is there is a scene where they lie naked together on his weird bed while the needles are cutting them both open and sewing them back together. And there's a sense, I guess, that the closest they can get to physical euphoria is probably just having a bunch of needles just kind of fucking with them. Even though they're probably not really feeling a whole lot at all from that.
The opening scene of this is quite funny, where it is the young boy who was eventually murdered on a beach, and I think his mother stands up on the porch and is like, don't eat anything you find in there or something.
There's also the chair that I love, the food digestion chair. I've started to think about this every day. I have such issues digesting my food, and I'm always sitting at bad angles after I eat lunch at work, and I'll eat my dinner and then I go to bed and I haven't digested my food. I'm lying down, and I've just started to just like think how great it would be to have a chair I could sit in that would just shift my body into these very specific positions where my organs would be perfectly lined up for food to just go through that's necessary passage. Would be so nice. Are there any other elements of the production design here, Brendan, that you'd like to have installed in your home?
Absolutely not. It's just like offensively ugly to me. I think rust is maybe my least favorite type of aesthetic. It's kind of it's got a steampunk-ish aesthetic, I suppose. Not really
so,
in terms of design, but certainly in terms of interiors. But I just don't understand particularly what this world is supposed to be. Like, is everything decayed, or is it just because these are like these artistic people who would naturally be drawn towards?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Places?
Are there other people living in luxury? I mean, the street that the office of the organ registry is on looks pretty normal and nice.
But the organ registry itself also looks decrepit.
looks really.
Look, you can imagine the rest of the world is pretty happy that they don't feel pain anymore. And maybe the rest of the world is fantastic, but these are the people that are like, I'm a bit of a sicko. I liked feeling like shit. It's kind
I
of.
suppose, I don't know. I guess
inspired
there's
my
that
art.
argument of like a certain amount of pain is necessary to feel the opposite. Then, no,
Yes.
to understand how good happiness feels.
Is emotional pain still
pleasure.
a thing here? Are people still suffering emotional suffering when grieving or whatever? I mean, the
Well,
boy,
it seems
the boy,
like-
yeah, the boy is suffocated in the first 5 minutes, so we know death is a thing. It's probably this new world is probably leading to people having a lot of like fight clubs and shit where they're like beating each other up, stabbing each other for fun, and then just dying without really thinking about it, because death is now going to become a lot more casual if pain is
think
no longer
so.
on the cards. It's interesting. It's funny how it's also cheap and kind of low budget, and then you've got Howard Shore, the like most kind of epic film composer of the last 30 years, of course, Lord of the Rings composer, who does the music for it and seems to do all of Cronenberg's films. And it's great that he still works for Cronenberg when Cronenberg's in this like cheapy space, but like Howard Shore being like a blockbuster kind of AAA list composer
such a
doing this
difference.
is fun. This movie did cost almost $30 million, which I wouldn't say is nothing. Like, that's pretty expensive for something that looks this cheap. I guess they had to build a couple of really expensive like visual effects components and also probably real set.
The R&D that went into the digestion chair to make it work for real, like was,
Yeah, fair. And like, I don't think that these actors are probably taking a huge salary for this. I'd say they'd probably do it for nothing. So I'm wondering why it's costing that much money. And that money's coming from like the Canadian version of Screen Ireland, the Canadian version of RTE. But like, Jesus, and probably French financing and stuff as well. But like, it just seems like I don't know. This movie looks like it cost $8 million to me. Having seen other low budget sci-fi that costs a lot less, I don't know why he's getting this much to make this.
I think I weirdly have a preference that if you're going to make this kind of sci-fi dark grungy thing, I'd rather it explicitly looks like shit and not is trying to be good, and then
Fair.
like slightly underperforming.
What's a
relative-
sci-fi movie we've seen recently? Like Mickey 17, maybe?
Yeah.
That looks like shit and cost $150 million.
Yeah,
You'd
where
rather
they
this.
were
yeah.
trying to make it look good. But
Yeah.
like I'd rather it just didn't
Deliberately, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, we were watching The Shrouds, and like I'm not going to name names, like we were comparing it to an Irish film that we saw about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was made for probably like 50 grand and was an Irish science fiction psychological movie that somebody made that was very cheap. And Cronenberg movies now kind of look like they could have been made in the Irish industry, which
You can see where the money is, though.
yeah, you can see where the money. Well, the money is in the actors, it's in the music, it's in the things that are ultimately
Probably
are
the color grading and stuff.
yeah, things that push it over the line.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say something there, Brendan?
No, I mean, I think there's an element that has to be intentional, just because it does feel almost artificial in a way. Like nothing you're looking at looks real, but it doesn't look like it's trying to be real necessarily either. Like kind of what Shane was saying. So I don't know.
I think anyway. Well, oh, wonderful! Thank you for dropping your phone so loudly, Shane.
You shouldn't have left it there.
This Leia Seydoux's first Cronenberg? I guess it is.
I think so. Yes.
I'm interested. I'm interested in Leia Seydoux as someone you could get financing to make a $30 million science fiction film with, even though she's not necessarily a lead in the Hollywood context. We'll run through her credits quickly. I guess the first thing I saw her in was Inglourious Bastards, but I never clocked that was her. Like, there's so many beautiful European actresses in that film. I actually can't pin down where she is in it. But she's in it. And it's funny that like a couple of her big Hollywood credits actually come before her biggest French success that I would deem being Blue is the Warmest Color. But like before that, she's already been in Inglourious Bastards. She's been in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which she's excellent in that one scene. Do you remember where she is in that, Brendan? She's the woman.
Yeah,
in
she
the...
gets pushed out the window, right?
Yeah. Shane had a character poster of her in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol on his wall that I bought him as a present once. That was in Russian.
Yeah. Sick.
It is funny that her character has a poster. So what does she do in that film? She shows up at the start. She kills Josh Holloway.
Yeah.
We were sitting outside a sushi restaurant last night in Dublin, and I loudly heard a man through the window say, "Josh Holloway." And I was
Really?
like, yeah, 'cause I told you he was naming lost actors.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, she kills Josh Holloway, and then she shows up in the Burj later, and they
Burj.
basically have their two meetings on top of each other.
I actually like I find that film to be kind of narratively a mess.
Oh,
Like,
it is
I
a
don't know
complete
who
mess.
the villains are. Like Cobalt, who we were
Cobalt.
talking about last week.
Yes,
and
Michael
the,
Nyqvist.
Yeah, and the Dragon Tattoo.
It doesn't
episode.
really
She-
matter though. There's
doesn't
enough
matter.
like
Not on the
epic
slightest.
stuff happening
Yeah.
that I don't really care.
There's diamonds
yeah, I'm
knocking
just
around,
happy to
and
see
there's
her get kicked out.
I agree.
spy stuff.
The only shame of her role in that is that she couldn't be brought into the franchise in a bigger role later on. I do, and I don't want any of the women in the Mission Impossible films to be replaced by Léa Seydoux. I love the...
But the Rebecca Ferguson role probably could have
been her.
fulfilled.
Yes, I think
they wanted to throw a French angle on it.
Yeah,
rather than
like
a
Rebecca
British angle.
Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, and Hayley Atwell are all brilliant in those last few movies. I wouldn't swap any of them out, but Léa Seydoux could definitely have been incorporated.
She found her spot in Bond.
She found her spot in
so.
Bond. She is in Midnight in Paris, and again, I don't really remember what she does in that. But Blue is the Warmest Color is 2013. It wins the Palme d'Or. It's a huge hit. I mean, I was very aware of that movie at the time as like the big French film of the year. I watched it about 2 years ago, and I didn't really like it that much. I thought she really was the bit that popped. I didn't think Adele Exarchopoulos was like that amazing in it, and I do like her as an actress. What you're about to disagree with me, Brendan?
Of course, the way that Adele eats spaghetti in that film will forever be etched in my mind. Like, I just don't think I can even eat spaghetti anymore without trying to imitate her. There's something about her that's just so French and nonchalant, and it gives me
Can you
envy.
do a demonstration?
Yeah,
I'd love to try, but I mean, unfortunately for all our listeners, they won't get to see. But it's just kind of a
he's doing some pretty crazy stuff there. On
That's nuts.
But clearly,
Cronenberg-esque.
Yes, Léa Seydoux's English-speaking roles escalate after that, and she joins the Wes Anderson gang, and she's in Grand Budapest and French Dispatch. She's great in the French Dispatch. She plays the prison guard who's visiting Benicio in his cell. She's great. She's in The Lobster, which is shot in Ireland. Pity we didn't run into her at the time. And then they introduce her in Spectre as Bond's new girlfriend. And she's a very, very rare case of a Bond girl who gets to stick around and have a multi-film arc. And ultimately, I think, is like maybe the most well-developed three-dimensional woman who's ever been in a Bond movie. You've, again, Brendan, marathoned all the Bonds. So would you agree with me there?
I mean, I'm really struggling to think of anyone else who's even like jumping to my head. Like,
Yeah,
I guess there's the
remotely
original. What was it called?
Or Ursula Andress? Or are you saying
Moneypenny?
Well,
yeah. What?
I guess
Moneypenny. Is that her name?
Moneypenny's a different thing, though. She kind of is like existing in an asexual sort of thing with Bond. In terms of his
But I
love
suppose
interest,
just in the sense of like she was someone who simply by the fact that she was in so many films,
yes,
she got the chance to slowly get an
Sure.
arc where she was also like the only female who was actually allowed to age.
yes,
So there was something for her to do in that sense, but I don't know. I guess Naomi Harris kind of exists. I mean, I guess Judi Dench, she
sure. I
actually
agree with you on both.
A little
I
bit
was-
of an arc as well.
I guess I should have framed it better. I was exclusively talking about like the love interest. Yeah, that I think they give her the two movies, and in No Time to Die, she has his child, and she ends up, I think, actually getting to be like a pretty good three-dimensional character by the standards of Bond and how it treats women. A lot of stuff I haven't seen then, but we did see the Mia Hansen love movie One Fine Morning. Got a pretty big release here in 2022.
I saw it on an airplane. I think.
You saw it on the airplane. I really liked that. I thought she was excellent in it. She's dealing with like her father's dying, and she has a new partner, and she's like a single mother, and she has a new partner, and I thought it was lovely. I thought she was really nice in it.
Yeah,
She's,
It's very
nice,
French. He's cheating on
yeah,
like her.
I found it to be a
his
nice,
wife.
mellow depiction of people having a tough time where it never gets hysterical or melodramatic
Yeah.
at all. They're just kind of like, yeah, sure,
I
we'll
agree.
hang out. Like,
yeah. It makes a good case for her, I think, as someone who could do a sort of Renate Reinsve type role
for sure.
in a worst person in the world, sentimental value
it's a good,
type movie.
it's a good Paris movie as well. It's,
it's
a
a good
good
Paris
like
movie,
just
yeah.
living in Paris movie.
Yes. There's a movie called The Beast in 2023, which people loved, which she's the star of, and a lot of that is like her, like in the past, in the future. It's very Cloud Atlas. She's like it's kind of jumping between timelines. I did not finish that film when I put it on. I might return to it someday, but I found it a tough one to get through. It was very long and confusing, but I know people who love it. And then she's in Dune 2, and she's in it for probably like 5 or 10 minutes, but she is very good. She's in all of the scenes with Austin Butler in black and white, and just has like a great look for that, but also I kind of wish she had a bigger role in it. And now apparently she's making a movie with Leos Carax, who is obviously a legend, and with herself and Adam Driver are in talks for a new Leos Carax film, and she'd be a perfect fit for that. But I think she has pipped Marion Cotillard as the French actress of choice in Hollywood now.
God, I hope she doesn't show up in the morning show. Like
She might
as
show up
much
in the
as I love
morning
her,
show.
I'd rather she didn't.
Well, it's hard to understand why. I mean, I can't think of a single reason or two towering reasons. No, nothing comes to mind.
And you know, people who have concerns about that, they do live in cities. So anyway, Viggo Mortensen, as we mentioned, he's worked with Cronenberg a couple times, which led me to believe he was Canadian, but he's not. He just likes the guy. an interesting case. I think both Viggo and Kristen Stewart, the leads of Hollywood franchises that they will forever be defined by, that Shane has just not really seen. Shane
Green Book and
Green Book and Adventureland.
Yeah.
Horses.
I brought Shane to see the Fellowship of the Ring in 2018 in the Lighthouse, and he was not really vibing with it. I think it's a pretty tough one to get into in your 20s if you don't have like an open heart for fantasy.
My heart has since become only more open, I believe.
I think you'd be more into it now. I think
so.
you were a bit more cynical about genre stuff in that period. But Viggo has the least to do in the first movie.
Yeah.
He's in it a good bit, but he's not commanding the narrative. In the third one, he's fucking incredible because he really ascends to like. It's the movie's about the king. It's about him. It's his story, the third one. But he's amazing in those movies. I mean, prior to that, he's like handsome guy in stuff like Carlito's Way, Crimson Tide, and I'm sure I'm jumping over 90s movies here that certain listeners will have a lot of affection for, but Perfect Murder, the Psycho remake. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of these. But he's Lord of the Rings for 3 years, and then he kind of gets to do whatever he wants. And he directs Hidalgo, which is a big Western. Like, just being the main face on the poster of Lord of the Rings Return of the King has given him an infinite amount of capital to go and make weird, interesting films. And I think he has been such a wonderful case of somebody taking their success and fame and like making an interesting career out of it. And yes, there have been some weird left turns and mainstream left turns like Green Book that are confusing, but they've worked out well for him. Have you seen Green Book, Brendan?
I have not. Don't really have much interest in it, but I don't know why. But I feel like I mean I'm not really a huge fan of Iñárritu, but I feel like Mortensen and him could really do something well together in the same way that like Bardem was able to.
Yeah,
I feel like they have a similar kind of energy.
Yes,
probably would be like an insufferably horrific film that just feels like you want to die after it, but you know.
Yes, maybe. Are you excited for Digger, the Iñárritu cruise movie?
Absolutely, I am, because I mean it's supposed to be a comedy, so that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about it. I do like his comedies more than most of his other things. So.
I don't hate Iñárritu. I don't want to watch him do another tragic melodrama though, suffering, misery shit. Like I think something a bit goofy is better. The political activities section of Viggo Mortensen's Wikipedia page features a fascinating paragraph. In 2009, Mortensen signed a protest stating the Toronto International Film Festival's Spotlight on Tel Aviv program implicitly condoned the Israeli occupation and marginalization of Palestinians. Keep in mind, folks, that is 17 years ago. And in 2015, Viggo Mortensen donated €1,000 to Irish political party Sinn Féin. I don't understand what's going on there. That's so weird. What a random thing to do.
It's just like Republican Mark
that's
Ruffalo.
probably-
Like,
Yeah, pocket change for an actor probably. So it's
It's
kind of
pocket
like,
change, but
why
it's
not?
It's a random cause to attach yourself to as an
Yeah.
American. He was in Ireland at least once.
Is he American?
He's American, yeah. He really seems Canadian. Sorry, he's Danish American, I believe.
okay, that makes sense.
He was in Ireland. There's a big framed photo of him up in the Lighthouse because he was there once, I think, at the Dublin Film Festival introducing a screening of Captain Fantastic. I'm not going to say, but someone I worked with once told me a story about
God, yes.
something that they claimed happened between them and him. It was... I struggle to believe it was true.
This is terrible podcasting. We'll tell you after.
But it was just bizarre, and I don't believe it. But anyway, it was just interesting. All
For
right.
the listeners at home, it was in fact me, and I did
Yes.
claim I had slept with him, and that is actually factually true.
That is factually true.
Unfortunately, if you're listening to this episode of Boy Party, it's because Viggo knows it's true. I have
Yeah.
proof, and he can take the episode down.
Yeah.
The people need to know.
People need to know. If you're in my circle of trust, you can text me and I'll probably tell you the story. But anyway, he endorsed Bernie Sanders. He criticized Hillary Clinton. He's a cool guy. He fucking, Catalan culture organizations and Gaza stuff. And I really like him. Now, I don't watch any of the films he directs because, to be honest, they're all Westerns and they all look a bit shit. But anyway, the other stuff he does after Lord of the Rings, he does The Road, which is a Cormac McCarthy adaptation, which is pretty good. It's like post-apocalyptic, him and his son kind of wandering around trying to avoid marauders. I quite like it. Oh, sorry, he did A Dangerous Method as well. I forgot. So there's 3 Cronenbergs before this. Two Faces of January is like a Patricia Highsmith thing. We discussed it on our Oscar Isaac episode last year. It's like trying so hard to be talented Mr. Ripley, but it's very much just like they're like grave robber kind of archaeologists out in Egypt. It's not that exciting. Captain Fantastic, people love that movie. It's real like quirky, colorful. Like Captain Fantastic to me is what people who don't watch Wes Anderson films think Wes Anderson films are like. It's like a quirky dad and his kids living in the woods, and they're all alternative, and they eat loads of vegetables. I watched it at the time. I found it to be insufferably twee and annoying. I know people who love that movie. So I'm not going to definitively say I don't care for it because I do need to revisit it. It's a fun use of Viggo Mortensen as like fun dad. But anyway, he follows that up a year or two later with Green Book, which gets him a Best Actor nomination. And obviously, Mahershala Ali wins supporting actor there in a case of very egregious category fraud. That is a movie with two leading men. They are equally present on screen.
It was a boy party.
A boy party.
It's very much a boy party. It's kind of ridiculous that they put the white guy in lead and the black guy in supporting, if you think about it. But I guess
mean, he's in the front of the car.
He's in the front of the car. He's driving the car. I guess the only other argument is that Mahershala had just won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar, so people kind of had like registered him as a supporting actor at that point. I think Green Book is a fun watch that if it hadn't gotten a single Oscar nomination, nobody would ever be out to get it, out for its, blood. It's a perfectly pleasant watch with some slightly outdated ideas.
It's really strange it's not a this Oscar Buzz film.
It's crazy. It has some slightly outdated ideas about racial relations and whatever, but I think the two actors are really charming and fun in it, and there's a reason why people loved it so much when it came out. And he's in this movie 13 Lives, which is about the Chilean, the kids who got this football team who were like in the cave?
No, they were Thai. You're thinking of the Chilean miners, I assume.
Yeah, you're mixing up
two different movies. Sorry, this is Thai. So this is him and Colin Farrell. This is the Ron Howard movie that went straight to Amazon Prime Video, and absolutely
Does this include the part where Elon Musk accused the cave diver of?
Yeah, I think
we were trying to figure that
plays
out.
the character that gets called.
Yeah, I think so. We were trying to figure that out. But yeah, that's kind of it. He doesn't work that much. He directed a Western 2 years ago with him and Vicky Krieps called The Dead Don't Hurt, which is a bit of like a random Western title generator. So I'm not exactly rushing out to see every new Viggo Mortensen movie, considering a lot of them are like boring kind of Western-y genre stuff I'm not really into. But I would suspect there is an Oscar win in his future. I think he's definitely operating in the same mode as people like Joaquin Phoenix and Ethan Hawke, where you're like, oh, he'll absolutely like get his flowers one day. He'll do some fucking slightly more accessible movie, and people will be like, we love this guy. He's great. Now, will his pro-Palestinian, pro-Sinn Féin politics get in the way of that? Maybe it will. Maybe him and Mark Ruffalo will end up being kind of ostracized for being too left-wing. But hopefully not. I think he's made everyone a lot of money with Lord of the Rings, and he's done a lot of stuff people admire. So I think eventually he'll have his moment. And yeah, cool guy, and I'm excited to see what the next 20 or 30 years of his career gives us in terms of working with interesting people. But he'd want to maybe pick up the pace a bit in terms of collaborating with, as you said, people like the Inarritus of the world or whoever. And Kristen Stewart, finally. Oh, these 3 actor episodes really take it out of me. Brendan, tell me.
She's really more of a supporting.
She is, but this is our chance to talk about her, so we're going to take it.
It's been a category fraud.
Can you talk about Kristen Stewart for 30 seconds, Brendan, so I can catch my breath? What do you think of her as an actress and from Twilight onwards?
I feel like she's an actress that I actually really want to like more because I know so many people respect her. But to be honest, I don't think I have seen many films of hers that I have really thought she's been incredible in, and that's because I probably haven't seen some of her best films, so that's more on me than it is on her. But I don't know, I think she's kind of a perfectly passable presence. I mean, obviously, particularly the Twilight stuff, I actually think there are a few actresses who would have been able to make that as engaging as a series if it wasn't for her. She has a kind of aloofness that she was made fun of a lot for in those films that I think brilliant. Actually really makes you kind of connect with her, because it's like, a teenage girl would be kind of emotionally distant in this way.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm totally biased because I was like such a big Twilight fan at a certain formative age that she was, I guess she was sort of an avatar in that world for me. Because in those books and in those movies, she's never the object of interest. She's always the audience surrogate, I guess. And she makes interesting independent decisions in those books to do with pursuing Edward and whatever that are maybe the audience are a bit like, what's going on with her? But the books are written in the first person. I think the Bella character is very much a window into the world. And I think if you're a teenage girl, and in my case, a teenage boy, but who was really connecting with those books, I think you kind of saw Kristen Stewart as like, okay, well, she's representing me in this world. She's the ordinary character. She's a normal person. And as a result, I would never took particular interest in her as someone to kind of like think that much about. I guess when I was a teenager, I was like, I took her for granted as like, she's really good in those movies. But Robert Pattinson is like the person to be obsessed over, the person to be desired. I had a poster of him on my wall, not of Kristen Stewart. And now I'm like interested because I'm like, oh, but Kristen Stewart is like absolutely someone I'm like drawn to as like what a dazzling, glamorous, beautiful presence in movies. So I'm like, it's funny I didn't feel that way when I was a teenager. Certainly I think like my parents were very connecting with her when they were watching those movies. They were like, wow, this actress is really, really talented, and making these more interesting to an adult audience. But first big movie she's in, Panic Room, she plays Jodie Foster's daughter, and you can kind of just see Jodie Foster DNA in every performance she's given since. I think that like that is the most obvious case I've ever seen of like a young child actor working with an adult actor and just modeling themselves off them forever. She's so similar to Jodie Foster now in how she kind of, I think, in a lot of her mannerisms and in the types of work she does. And it's like, when's she going to get her Silence of the Lambs? Like, she's kind of wasting time on a lot of shite sort of...
When's she going to get her flight plan?
Her flight plan. I guess she's kind of done a few flight plans.
Panic Room.
Well, yeah, but that was she was the...
Yes,
she was the plan in that.
But,
who is the child in Flight Plan? It's not Kristen Stewart anyway. I just feel like she's probably missing that there's a gap in her resume of that Silence of the Lambs type project. She is an Oscar nominee for Spencer. I haven't seen that movie. I think it has some subject matter in it that's going to freak me out, so I've avoided it. Have you seen it, Brendan?
I have. Yeah,
good?
I enjoyed it, I suppose. I mean, I think I enjoyed it more than the typical kind of Diana films just because, thankfully, it decides to focus on one specific moment in Diana's life, like one weekend, and that's it. So we're not wasting time looking at other nonsense, you know?
Who plays Charles in that movie? Is it anyone interesting?
That's an excellent question. I cannot remember.
I assume it's not like Josh O'Connor or Callum Turner or someone like that. I'll tell you now. It is Jack Farthing, a person I've never heard of. It's Pablo Larraín, who I guess made Jackie, which I do like, and then he made Maria, which I didn't watch, but those are kind of his trilogy of like depressing woman who suffered movies. But I think Kristen Stewart is a weird choice to play Diana, but like also kind of makes sense. I don't know. It's like woman with short hair, but like she's also so American and has such an American face. I think her playing famous, British princess is kind of gas. The other thing I was aware of before Twilight, she was in Zahura, the sort of crappy half sequel to Jumanji, which is Josh Hutcherson and her like floating around in a house in space, which is a Jon Favreau movie. I think Tim Robbins is the dad. I've never watched it in full, but she is the babysitter or the sister or whatever in that. And then she's in Into the Wild as like the girlfriend to the Emile Hirsch character, which was like a Best Picture nominated movie. And I think that's ultimately what gets her cast in Twilight. And then there's a film with Eddie Redmayne called The Yellow Handkerchief, which myself and Christina watched about a year ago, thinking it was going to be good fun, and it was so boring. But obviously, similarly, Robert Pattinson, similarly to Viggo Mortensen, uses this Twilight success to be like, I'm going to go make a bunch of indie movies and be interesting. And some of those are not so good. I mean, I haven't even seen stuff like Welcome to the Rileys. I've never seen the Joan Jett biopic, The Runaways.
The Runaways. Actually, she is quite good in that. I did like that.
Okay, I've never seen it.
That's part who? Is it Elle
It's
Fanning?
Dakota Fanning, yeah. Adventureland, I didn't care for when I watched it, but it does establish a seemingly pretty good partnership between her and Jesse Eisenberg, who I think are kind of the male and female versions of each other, and I can imagine them having further movies together in future. Cause
is he her avenue into something more commercially
perhaps
successful?
If he's becoming now a big director who gets Oscar nominations for all his movies, I can see how Kristen Stewart could get a great role in a Jesse Eisenberg film, because I think they seem to be similar types. I think they're probably the same age. They're good friends. It would make sense to me. And then the only like big blockbuster thing she uses the Twilight capital to do is Snow White and the Huntsman, which I think is not good, but also is super overshadowed by the fact that she has an affair with the director. She cheats on Robert Pattinson with the director, Rupert Sanders. And none other than President Donald Trump had a lot of opinions on Twitter about that at the time and was saying all sorts of crazy stuff about it and about her. And it is just so weird to think that, like, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson were part of his world for a little while. The last people you'd expect. Camp X-Ray is like a gay Guantanamo Bay guard movie. That's like a fake Tropic Thunder Oscar bait movie. Like, come on, I'm not watching that. There's 2 Olivier Assayas movies that I watched last week in research for this. Clouds of Sils Maria, I did not like. It's like her and Juliette Binoche, and she's her assistant, and Juliette Binoche is like a famous actress whose most famous role is being now kind of redone on stage by Chloe Grace Moretz. Chloe Grace Moretz, I think, is a huge problem with that film, but generally I just thought it was like overacted, overwritten. It was very similar to Sentimental Value, but didn't work as well. Personal Shopper then is the second SAS, which I think is much better. I think that's actually one of Kristen Stewart's more kind of naturalistic performances. She doesn't do a lot of the mannered stuff that she does in Crimes of the Future that I think drives people a bit nuts, where she like completely she really turns that shit up to 10 when she chooses to. Personal Shopper, she's on her own for a lot of that film. She's texting a ghost, which I didn't love that element of it, but I did like her on her own, walking around Paris, walking around shops, trying on clothes. She's just a fun person to watch when she's behaving naturally. She's Julianne Moore's daughter in Still Alice, and
She's really good in that, actually.
She is good in that, if I recall, yeah. And then there's a Woody Allen movie with her and Jesse Eisenberg, Cafe Society, which I enjoyed at the time. She's the sister in Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, which I said to Shane, she inexplicably first billed in that movie because it's like Kristen Stewart. She's in one scene, Kristen Stewart, and then it's with Vin Diesel and Steve Martin and introducing Joe Alwyn. It's like everyone who has a bigger role than her in that is like shifted down the end of the credits.
Who directed? Was that Ang Lee?
Ang Lee directed that movie, and it was shot in like 3D high frame rate. And like I read the book, I really liked the book, and then the film just like does not work at all. It's not a book that can be turned into a film successfully. There's a Gene Seberg movie I watched called Seberg. Gene Seberg, obviously great actress who starred in Breathless and all sorts of stuff, who had this insane story where she got pulled into a kind of a FBI thing with the Black Panther movement, and this movie's about that. Really, really overqualified supporting cast in this. You got Jack O'Connell, Vince Vaughn, Anthony Mackie, Colm Meaney, Margaret Qualley. Not very good. Spends way too much time on the FBI guys and not on Gene Seberg herself. And ultimately, Gene Seberg just had a really sad, horrible ending to her life. And this movie's just kind of building up to that, but it's also trying to be like a kind of a sexy spy thriller, and it cannot balance those two elements. I don't know what was going on when she starred in the Charlie's Angels reboot. Very weird. And also the two actresses they cast alongside her are very like D-list. So she's kind of carrying a lot of that with her star power. But I mean, I don't know. Did they think it was going to draw in a slightly more like cool Gen Z, like gay crowd to have Kristen Stewart in Charlie's Angels? If so,
I think so. I mean, the soundtrack was like filled with a bunch of different like D-list pop singers that only gay men appreciate. So
I know.
I guess that was the thought process.
I just think that film is way too basic and normie to
Based on the
appeal to-
trailer, they didn't deviate enough from the.
No.
They tried to stick a little bit too much to the original
Yeah.
idea to sell it, and then also not want to commit to it because they
Absolutely.
didn't like the sleaziness of the original.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like the McGee movies are like perverse and voyeuristic towards those women, which is obviously really dodgy, but like they at least have a take.
It's a
Whereas this is directed by Elizabeth Banks, and obviously the pitch was like feminist Charlie's Angels, but there's nothing. There's nothing. It doesn't do anything with that idea. It's just like, oh, Kristen Stewart's in it. She's kind of gay coded. You guys into this? I remember watching Happiest Season, I think, with you in when we used to live together, Brendan, and I didn't really like it, but people like that movie.
I found it just terrible.
Yeah, it's
but
not
like
good.
I guess I don't know. It's more just like whoever's her girlfriend in the film. I guess just
Mackenzie
makes a lot of
Davis.
decisions that are really annoying.
What's her name? The one from Station 11. Is Mackenzie Davis not her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is her name. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an annoying film. Love Lies Bleeding was this fucking bodybuilding, like women on the run thing. I didn't watch that. We watched her in Sacramento with Michael Cera last year, where she's like
Sucks.
pregnant wife on phone. That's it. That's Kristen Stewart. There's nothing else going on there. She hasn't done any TV, which is good. None of these, like her and Viggo Mortensen both haven't done any TV shows, which I always respect. All right. I couldn't find anyone famous who's put this movie in their Letterboxd top 4. I'm a little surprised by that. I would have thought just by virtue of being a Cronenberg, people would have thrown it in there.
But I guess it's probably no one's favorite Cronenberg.
I know. Same as the
Yeah,
Dragon
it's a
Tattoo
big-
issue last week. It's also
Like, you're not going to put this in your top 4 over
no, this overall is
the vast majority of his other films.
I did, however, check Kristen Stewart's top 4, which is an interesting list. She has Lynn Ramsey's Morven Caller. She has Le Bonheur, A Really Young Girl. And then she has Rebecca Miller's first film, Angela, on it. And I was actually with Rebecca Miller in person the week that this video went up. And I said to Rebecca Miller, did you see Kristen Stewart named Angela as one of her 4 favorite films? And Rebecca Miller was like, oh, I didn't see that. That's nuts. So it was fun. That was the only time I've ever gotten to tell a director that somebody famous had put their movie in a Letterboxd Top 4 video. So there you go. Do you have the box office, Shane?
I do.
This
I actually do.
When does
First
this come
time
out?
ever I have it.
September of 22?
June
22?
2022.
So it's obviously a Cannes premiere.
Potentially.
Okay.
Look, it's here at number 9 or 10.
Okay.
Which is pretty good considering the scale of the names that are coming before it.
Yes.
Just all IP heavyweights.
All right. Well, go ahead there with the clues.
plus
Brendan,
another
you jump in and guess as well, please.
Okay, this movie made over $1 billion and saved cinema. Cinemas would all be
Is
closed.
this Top Gun Maverick?
I think so, yeah.
Every cinema would be closed if it wasn't for Tom Cruise flying his airplane.
Really just one of the most overrated films.
And now he's about to bring the oil industry back with Digger. So
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. Top Gun Maverick.
Number 2, film. Ooh, I think this falls into the category of film Shane went to see on a date.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah?
In 22.
No, never. Oh,
Is this a Marvel sequel?
yeah.
Yeah, I know what this is. This is a very bad Marvel movie.
Marvel sequel.
It's a number 2 for one of
Yeah.
the heroes. Good director, very bad movie.
Mm-hmm. It's got an alliterative.
Okay. This is Doctor Strange. What was it called?
Multiverse of
Multiverse
Madness.
of Madness.
Of course.
There is
we
no
go.
madness in that film. A severe lack of madness, I would argue.
Yeah.
It does have it's the only time Michael Stuhlbarg's ever gotten a whiff on the credits or something, so I do like it for that one reason
It's
alone.
just fucking schlop.
It's absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
No need to
Tiny little scene that he appears in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the
funeral
church
or
where
a
he's
wedding or
He's at a funeral sitting behind Cumberbatch. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And that's also the only movie that ever put like what's it called? The little 2 dots on a German vowel.
Umlaut.
They put an umlaut over the U in his name, and no other movie has ever done that. So I think it was a mistake. It was on the poster. Anyway, keep going. Stuhlbarg.
Number 3. This is a film of an animated TV show.
Not Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
No, it's not really for kids.
A film of an animated TV show.
I was about to say like the Miraculous Ladybug movie or something.
So I thought this was more recent, but is it Bob's Burgers the movie?
The Bob's Burgers movie.
I thought that came out like a year ago. God, I never saw anyone talk about that. Pretty non-existent stuff. The Bob's Burgers movie.
Bob's Burgers movie.
New
There's too many.
trend online is that people are. I've been saying this for a while. People are referring to things as the X movie. They're like and then slapping the title in. So I've seen a lot of people say like the Hoppers movie. And I heard someone the other day
That
say
kind of really kicked off with the Barbie movie.
the Barbie movie, the kneecap movie. But I get those because that was an existing brand.
Yeah.
Saying the Barbie movie to
Hoppers
differentiate
movie makes no sense.
The Hoppers movie makes no sense because Hoppers is the movie and there's nothing else before the movie.
Are people embarrassed to say the name of films?
I think they are.
I went to see Hoppers. I went to see that.
Yeah, they don't want to have to explain that it was a movie.
Yeah.
The Crimes of the Future movie. People are so stupid. I'm sick of everyone being dumb around me.
Yeah.
Bonus episode coming out later this week about how I'm sick of everyone being dumb around me, folks.
You're just jealous because you don't get casted. In
yeah,
anything.
I don't get casted in anything.
Okay, next up, we got another animated movie.
Oh, I don't know. Is it Pixar?
Neither of you have seen it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to call out some of the voice actors.
Yes,
in
please
this.
do.
We got a bit of Zazie Beetz. We're starting lower down. Bit
Okay.
of Richard Ayoade,
Jesus.
Anthony Ramos,
Oh, is
Craig
this?
Robinson.
Oh no, I don't know what this is.
We have a double. We have Awkwafina playing Tarantula,
Oh, it's the bad guys.
the bad guys.
A movie
We have
I've-
Mark Maron plays Snake.
Yes, and Sam Rockwell
What
plays
is
Wolf.
the bad guys?
It's about a bunch of animals who do crimes.
Yeah.
It's like a heist movie with a bunch of animals who drive around in a car. Sam Rockwell voices the wolf who wears like a white tuxedo, and then there's a tarantula, which is obviously why I've never.
It looks like it
watched
has that tacky kind of not 3D animation.
Yes, it has the Spider-Verse Puss in Boots 2
Yeah, that's
aesthetic.
bullshit.
Mark Maron voicing a snake is an excellent piece of casting. Unfortunately, I will never watch a movie with either Awkwafina or a tarantula, and that movie combines them into one. So,
Next up, we have another television movie,
okay.
seemingly a sequel to a movie about a television. That's it. It is the second
Yeah,
film
based on a TV show.
based on a TV show.
What could that be? What sort of TV show?
British bullshit.
Oh, British bullshit.
Yeah.
Downton Abbey, A New Era or
Correct.
something? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen that. I've seen like half of it.
Have you?
I haven't logged it, but I've seen it on TV, like bits of it. crap.
Brennan, what won Best Picture for this year?
2022. Jesus Christ, I have no idea. What one?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Correct. That's next on the list.
Oh my God, how could I have
I
not
know.
gotten that?
And on that note, all right, we'll wrap it up.
Ah, no, we have to do one more.
No, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. Thank you, Brendan, for joining us again.
Of course, anytime. I'm happy to come back.
I hand delivered a high quality microphone to your home, so now you're obligated to appear on the show more regularly to pay off the investment.
Same.
Anything you want to plug? Anywhere you want people to find you, or no?
Absolutely. Do not try and find me by any means necessary.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to request from the audience? Is there anything that you would like them to send you?
I would like people to watch Blue is the Warmest Color, specifically the spaghetti eating scene, and dedicate your time to replicating it, and please send me a video clip of you eating spaghetti.
Excellent.
Will do.
All right. Visit boypartypod.com, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.